On Christmas Eve, my wife made fun of my stuttering in front of everyone. I tried to smile, and she said, "Is it broken? Maybe turn it off and on again, then it'll talk like a human being." Her father laughed and gave her a 5. I just collected the plates. 6 months later, she was banging on my windows and her sister begged, "Answer her." Then I said it all without a hitch. "My name is Caleb, I'm 31 years old and I've had a stutter since childhood. It's always been something I live with, not something I let define me, but still a part of my everyday life. It gets worse when I'm anxious, especially around people who talk over me or get impatient. Most days I manage just fine." My wife, Jenna, 29F, always claimed she found it adorable when we first started dating. Her words, not mine. She'd smile when I struggled through certain words and told me it made me seem thoughtful, like I chose every word with care. I believed her. Lately, though, something had shifted between us. At first, it was subtle. Jenna was snappier, more withdrawn. She laughed at things on her phone but would always angle the screen away when I walked into the room. I figured it was just holiday stress. Her family makes a big deal out of Christmas, and Jenna's always been the type to want everything perfect. Christmas Eve, we drove to her parents' house. Her dad Martin, 60M, her mom Susan, and her older sister Tessa, 34F, were all there. Jenna was distant the entire ride. She kept adjusting her makeup in the mirror, checking her hair, barely speaking. I assumed she was just trying to make a good impression, but now I think it was more about her than anyone else. Dinner started off normally enough. Her dad was loudly watching football in the background, her mom was busy bringing dishes to the table, and everyone chatted in that typical holiday way. Eventually, the conversation turned to future plans and someone asked Jenna and me what we were doing for New Year's. I started to answer, mentioning a small trip we were planning to take, just the two of us, maybe to Colorado. But as soon as I started speaking, I felt the familiar tension in my throat. I stumbled on the first few syllables. My stutter kicked in hard. I was nervous. Martin had always made me uneasy with his sarcastic tone and tendency to interrupt me mid-sentence. I was trying to power through when Jenna suddenly cut in. She started mocking my stutter. Right there. At the dinner table. Full-on imitation, dragging out the sounds, twisting her face in a fake expression of effort like a cartoon character short-circuiting. "We we're going to SSSC the MMM Mountains," she said, in this exaggerated, theatrical tone that didn't even sound human. Everyone froze. I sat there stunned. Then Martin let out this booming laugh and clapped the table like she just told the best joke of the night. I forced a small smile. I had to. What else could I do? I was in her family's home, surrounded by people who apparently thought humiliating me was hilarious. But then Jenna leaned back in her chair, looked right at me, and said, "Look at him glitching again. Someone reboot Caleb, maybe he'll finally talk like a normal person." Her dad laughed even harder. He actually high-fived her. Susan, her mom, looked away like she didn't know how to react. Tessa kept her eyes on her plate, silently chewing. I felt my ears burning. My hands were shaking under the table. I didn't trust myself to speak, so I just stood up and started clearing the plates. I needed to move. To do something, anything, to stop feeling like I was about to implode. In the kitchen, I scraped leftovers into the trash, trying not to cry. Behind me, I could still hear them laughing. Martin's voice cut through. "Poor guy can't even defend himself." And Jenna replied, "I know, right? He's like a malfunctioning robot." The drive home was quiet. I didn't say a word. Jenna spent the entire time tapping away on her phone, occasionally smirking at the screen. I had no idea what she was reading. I didn't ask. Later that night, I finally confronted her. I asked her, as calmly as I could, what that was back at dinner. Why would she mock me like that in front of everyone? She rolled her eyes. "It was just a joke, Caleb." "God, you're so sensitive. This is exactly why people find it exhausting to be around you." I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying it over and over, her voice, her expression, her dad's laugh. I started wondering if this was really the first time she had mocked me or just the first time she had done it out loud. The next morning, while Jenna was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I glanced at the screen, not to snoop, but because the preview popped up. It was from her friend and it said, "OMG, the vid of him stuttering at dinner was gold. Your dad's face, I'm crying." My stomach turned. She'd filmed me. She had taken a video of me stuttering at dinner, uploaded it to her private story, and sent it to her friends to laugh at. It wasn't just a cruel joke, it was entertainment for her little group chat. When she came out of the bathroom, I asked her again, as calmly as I could, why she did it. She barely blinked. "It's only on my private story," she said. "Chill out. No one important saw it." Like that somehow made it better. I didn't argue. I waited until she left for errands, then sat down at my laptop and checked our shared cloud account. We'd set it up years ago to automatically back up our photos and videos. Both our phones synced to it. And that's when I saw it. A hidden folder. Dozens of videos. Clips of me stuttering, struggling, pausing mid-sentence, all filmed without me knowing. Each one labeled with things like, loading. Caleb.exe crashed again. Why is he like this though? Some even had music over them. Some had captions with inside jokes I didn't understand, but her friends sure did. Their comments made that clear. Worse yet, there were screenshots of her texting Martin, making fun of how I can't get through a single sentence without tripping. Telling her friends that she sometimes lies and says I have a developmental disorder so people don't ask questions. I stared at the screen for a long time. That's when everything inside me shifted. I knew right then I couldn't stay. But I also knew I couldn't just walk out. Not yet. I had to do the smart. And so I started planning. Quietly. Carefully. After seeing those videos, after reading the captions, the group chat comments, and the messages she shared with her father, something inside me went cold. The hurt didn't disappear, but it hardened. Turned into focus. I didn't yell. Didn't slam doors. I knew walking out right then would only make things messy. Jenna was smart, manipulative in subtle ways. If I didn't have a plan, I'd be the one left scrambling. So instead, I played along. I smiled. I nodded. I told her nothing. The first thing I did was contact a lawyer. I found someone local through a recommendation at work and paid in cash. During our consultation, I explained everything, the videos, the mockery, the way she humiliated me in front of her family. My lawyer's advice was clear. Don't give her any sign you're preparing to leave. Keep everything looking normal while you get your ducks in a row. So that's what I did. I started gathering documents, passports, birth certificates, bank account statements. I scanned and backed up everything, stored the files on an encrypted drive. I created a new checking account in my name only and started slowly moving small amounts of money from our joint account. Just enough to stay under the radar. I tracked everything, receipts, transfers, balances, all legal, all within reasonable limits. My lawyer said that would protect me later. Then I rented a small storage unit on the edge of town. Paid cash again. I started moving things I knew were mine. Childhood photos, keepsakes, my gaming console, tech gear, work tools, my clothes. I even took the time to wrap things carefully, label boxes. Every trip to the storage unit felt like a step toward freedom. Jenna never noticed. She was too busy with her phone, with her sister, with her social outings. I told her I was working late more often and she barely blinked. I also started sleeping on the couch, claiming back pain. She didn't question it. Didn't even ask if I was okay. That part stung more than I expected. The most unexpected part of all this? We technically worked for the same company. Different departments, different buildings, but the same organization. I worked in IT, specifically in internal systems and support. Jenna had just been promoted to account manager in sales. When we first met at a company mixer 5 years ago, it felt like fate. Now, that connection would prove to be something else entirely. While collecting financial info, I started reviewing our shared credit card statements. I noticed charges I hadn't seen before: 4 designer handbags in the past 2 months, each over $800, all from our joint card. I checked her closet. They were hidden behind old sweaters, tags still on. She had been spending like crazy. But what alarmed me more was how some of those purchases and restaurant bills for girls' nights matched up with entries she had submitted to our company's expense system. I recognized the dates and amounts. She was submitting them as client dinners and getting reimbursed. At first, I wasn't sure what to do. I didn't want to get involved. But then something landed on my desk. Jenna had submitted a request through the system to have several of her expense reports unlocked for editing. This kind of request routes to my team by default. Normally, I would just approve it, no big deal, but this time I paused. Because I knew she wasn't correcting a mistake. She was covering her tracks. I didn't handle her request directly, conflict of interest. But I flagged it to my team lead and said, "Hey, I've noticed some inconsistencies in recent sales team expenses. Might be worth reviewing." I didn't say it was my wife. I reported it as an employee doing my job. My team lead passed it to accounting. From there, an internal audit began. Jenna had no idea. Meanwhile, I found an apartment. A 1-bedroom in an older building near my office. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. The landlord was friendly, didn't ask many questions. I signed the lease quietly and paid the deposit from my personal account. Over the next 2 weeks, I staged everything. When Jenna left for work, I'd take a few more things to storage. I made a checklist of what was mine, what I could leave behind. I sorted joint property and documented everything. I updated my mailing address for anything important. I even redirected a few of my work documents to my personal email to avoid raising red flags. One day, she asked what I wanted to do for Valentine's Day. I smiled and said, let's talk about it next week. She nodded and went back to scrolling TikTok. The last thing I did was take Marble, our cat. Technically, she was mine. I'd had her since before we met. Jenna never liked her, always complained that Marble shed too much or scratched the couch. So I took her to the new apartment early where she immediately claimed the windowsill as her throne. Everything was in place. Then Jenna mentioned she had a networking trip coming up, a 3-day offsite for account managers at a regional resort about 4 hours away. She packed her nicest clothes, curled her hair, and left Thursday morning. The moment her location pinged outside city limits, I texted my 3 closest friends. It's go time. They came with a rental truck and helped me move the rest in under 3 hours. Bed, desk, chair, computer. I left the couch, the TV, the dining table, anything we bought together stayed. I wasn't interested in fighting over furniture. Before I left, I walked through the apartment one last time. I patched the nail holes where my posters used to hang. I cleaned the bathroom. I placed Marble's old toy on the windowsill and left Jenna's grandmother's ring, the one she never wore, on the kitchen counter. I also left a letter. Simple. Direct. No emotion. Jenna, I've moved out and will be filing for divorce. All further communication can go through my attorney. I've transferred half of our joint funds to my personal account. I've left all shared items. Caleb. By Thursday night, it was like I had never lived there. And Jenna had no idea what was waiting for her when she got back. Jenna came back late Sunday evening. I didn't need to be there to see her face, I could imagine it perfectly. At 7:43 p.m., my phone started lighting up. Jenna. Where the hell are you? Why is all your stuff gone? Are you kidding me right now? By 8:02 p.m., the tone changed. You stole money from our account. My dad says that's illegal. Answer your phone, Caleb. This isn't funny. 19 missed calls in less than 2 hours. I didn't respond to a single one. At 10:11 p.m., I got a text from Tessa, her sister. We hadn't spoken in months. Tessa. Caleb, Jenna's freaking out. I know she can be difficult, but don't you think this is a little extreme? Can you at least talk to her? I replied simply. I appreciate your concern, but this is between Jenna and me. Please respect my decision. I went to bed that night with a sense of quiet that felt almost foreign. Marble curled up next to me, purring like she hadn't in months. I slept through the night for the first time in. I couldn't remember how long. The next morning, while I was setting up my work-from-home station, I got a message from Harper, one of the accounting analysts at work. Harper. Hey, not sure if you've heard, but there's some drama going down in sales. Something about expense reports and Jenna? Thought you might want a heads up. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need to. The internal audit had finished reviewing her reimbursement claims. And based on what I'd seen, they probably found at least 18 separate instances of fraud, dinners, spa visits, boutique shopping trips, all passed off as client meetings. Later that afternoon, Jenna was called into HR for a formal meeting. I hadn't coordinated the timing of anything, but sometimes the universe just aligns. While she was in that meeting, she was also served with the divorce papers. My lawyer had arranged it through a legal courier. I didn't request they do it at her job, they picked the timing. But part of me wondered if Jenna saw that as intentional. Maybe she thought I was trying to destroy her life. And honestly, I wasn't. I just wanted out. I wanted peace. But peace is rarely neat, and when someone's been building a life on lies, the collapse is going to be loud. That evening, my phone blew up again. Jenna. You humiliated me at work. This is about Christmas, isn't it? It was one joke. You're being cruel. My dad says what you did with the bank account is financial abuse. Please just talk to me. I didn't respond. My lawyer told me I'd done everything by the book, the financial split was clean, I hadn't taken anything that wasn't rightfully mine, and I had documentation of everything. Every video, every text, every purchase. Jenna's version of the story quickly made its rounds. I started getting vague messages from unknown numbers, clearly her friends or people from her side of the office. You didn't have to ruin her life like that. She made a mistake, dude. People forgive worse. Hope you're proud of yourself. I ignored all of them. The strange thing? I felt free. My stutter, the very thing she mocked me for, had started improving. Not disappearing, but softening. I was more relaxed. I could breathe. I wasn't constantly on edge, worried about being recorded or laughed at or judged in silence. I started walking to the park again, reading more. I even cooked dinner, actual meals, not just microwave junk. Marble sat by my feet while I sliced vegetables and listened to music I used to love. And Jenna? She was spiraling. From what I gathered through work chatter and mutual acquaintances, her situation was getting worse. The HR department had suspended her pending further investigation. She tried to claim I hacked her account and faked the reports, but IT logs don't lie, and besides, I had stayed away from her personal access the entire time. Her dad, Martin, threatened to sue me. Claimed I ruined his daughter's future. But after consulting with his lawyer, he backed off. There was no case. Just embarrassment. The only communication I kept open was email, strictly for divorce proceedings. But Jenna still found ways to get messages to me. From unknown numbers. I lost my job because of you. My dad says you planned this all along. Was Christmas just an excuse? Even Tessa started messaging again. At first, she defended Jenna, told me I should have handled it like an adult. But after a few weeks, her tone changed. Her messages became shorter, more neutral. One even ended with, "I'm sorry I didn't speak up at dinner." By the end of the third week, I barely checked my phone anymore. I was too busy living. I had my own place, my own space, my own peace. I started seeing a speech therapist again. Not because I felt broken, but because I wanted to take control. She taught me breathing techniques, grounding methods, even a few vocal exercises I'd never tried before. It felt empowering. I wasn't running from anything anymore. I was rebuilding. And somewhere out there, Jenna was realizing she'd burned the last bridge she had left. 6 months passed. I didn't expect to post about this again. Honestly, I thought the story was over. I had moved out, started the divorce process, settled into my new apartment. Life was far from perfect, but it was finally mine. And then yesterday happened. But first, life since Jenna. My apartment is still a bit messy. The dishwasher doesn't work. The upstairs neighbor plays electric guitar at weird hours. But I don't care. The space feels real. It feels like peace. I've decorated it the way I want. My Star Wars posters are back up on the wall. My gaming setup lives in the living room now, not tucked away like it embarrassed someone. Marble has claimed the sunniest spot by the window and watches birds like it's her full-time job. I've been seeing a speech therapist twice a month. Not because I'm ashamed of my stutter, but because I wanted better tools. She's taught me breathing techniques, ways to manage pressure when I feel it building, and most importantly, how to trust my own voice again. Work's been steady. I got assigned to a long-term project that lets me work from home most days. Harper's been a great team lead. She even invited me to her birthday drinks last month. For the first time in years, I've started rebuilding a social circle that doesn't include people who secretly mock me. The divorce process dragged longer than expected. Jenna contested it at first, then went quiet for a while. Her lawyer reached out a few times with adjustments, but nothing substantial. It was mostly noise. Occasionally, I'd still get texts from unknown numbers. Always Jenna. Always a different tone. Please just talk to me, I'm struggling. You planned this from the start. I lost everything because of you. You were supposed to be kind. Did you ever even love me? I never replied. Just screenshotted and forwarded them to my lawyer. Even Tessa messaged me again. And this time her tone was completely different. She apologized for not saying anything at the Christmas dinner. Said she hadn't realized how cruel Jenna had become. I thanked her, but I didn't offer more. Then came yesterday. It was a Saturday. A normal one. I woke up late, made coffee, played a few hours of Elden Ring, then threw a load of laundry in. Around 2 p.m., I ordered pizza and put on the new sci-fi series everyone's been raving about. I had no plans beyond rest and relaxation. At exactly 6:18 p.m., someone started pounding on my front door. Not knocking, pounding. Like they were trying to break it down. I looked through the peephole and felt my stomach drop. It was Jenna. She was standing there in jeans and a wrinkled hoodie, hair a mess, face blotchy, mascara smeared. She looked like she'd been crying for hours. I didn't open the door. I didn't even move. I just froze. She started calling my name over and over. Not screaming, but loud enough for the neighbors to hear. I stepped away from the door and sat on the couch, muted the TV, and hoped she'd leave. She didn't. After a few minutes, the knocking stopped, but then I heard her voice again, this time coming from outside my living room window. I live on the second floor. She must have walked around the building and stood beneath my balcony. She was shouting upward, begging me to talk to her. That's when my phone buzzed, a text from Tessa. Caleb, I'm so sorry. Jenna left my apartment an hour ago. She just found out her new boyfriend's been cheating on her and I think she's having a breakdown. Is she at your place? Me? Yeah. She's outside my window right now. Tessa, I'm on my way. Please, just say something. I'm afraid of what she might do. I sat there for a long minute. My phone still in my hand. Jenna's voice still floating up from the grass outside. And then for the first time in 6 months, I got up and opened the window. She looked up startled. Her eyes widened when she saw me. Her voice cracked as she said my name. And for a second, a tiny, almost microscopic part of me felt that old urge to comfort her. To fix it. To make it better. But it passed quickly. She started talking. Fast. Rambling. Apologizing. Saying therapy had helped her understand how badly she'd treated me. That she missed me. That she'd never find someone as patient and kind as me again. That her new relationship was a disaster. That she'd lost everything and realized I was the only one who ever really cared. And then she said something that made me laugh. Not cruelly. Just bitter amusement. You were so patient with me, Caleb. I'll never find someone like that again. Patient. That was the word she chose. Like my value was measured in how long I tolerated her cruelty. And here's the part that surprised me more than anything, I didn't stutter. Not once. I looked down at her and spoke calmly. Deliberately. You're right. I was patient. Patient when you mocked me behind my back. Patient when you filmed me struggling to speak and shared it like a joke. Patient while your dad laughed in my face and you joined in. Patient when you posted videos of me online and told your friends I had a disability. But that patience is gone now. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry for the consequences. This moment, you crying outside my apartment, this is the last interaction we'll ever have. She looked stunned. Like the air had been knocked out of her. Then her face twisted. The apology was gone. Her voice turned sharp. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Watching me suffer. You planned this. You got me fired. You ruined my life. I didn't reply. I closed the window. Pulled the blinds shut. 20 minutes later, Tessa texted me that she'd picked Jenna up. She apologized again. I didn't reply. This morning I woke up feeling lighter. Lighter than I have in years. My speech therapist told me once that my stutter was linked to anxiety, to feeling small or judged. And in that moment, staring down at the person who made me feel that way for years. I felt neither. I felt free. The divorce will be finalized in 3 weeks. I've already booked time off work. I'm going to visit my parents, my first real vacation in 2 years. Life isn't perfect. My kitchen sink still leaks. Marble knocked over a plant this morning. I still stutter sometimes. But I'm not broken. And I'm not anyone's punchline ever again.